We are less than a week away from Lunar New Year, which is happening January 29th. And this year is the year of the wood snake. And from what I understand, it is no ordinary year. So to really find out what's going on, we wanted to invite our local Feng Shui master and expert, Marlyna Los here. She's based in Vancouver, but she's an internationally renowned Feng Shui Chinese metaphysics author, expert, consultant, speaker, and educator. And she's traveled the world for over 30 years, studying with various Chinese masters and grandmasters in Feng Shui. And she was honored the title of Feng Shui Master in 2006. So she is a true expert on this, and we thought she'd be a great person to bring in and help us understand what's coming up for the year ahead and how to best prepare for it. So Marlyna, thanks so much for coming on.
My privilege. Thank you.
So let's get started. So let's talk about, so this year is the year of the wood snake. And I know I've heard you say many times, this is not an ordinary year. This is quite a big shift that we're coming into. Can you give us some context on that?
Yeah, so the Chinese calendar is a lunar solar calendar, which combines the moon cycles. Hence, the Chinese New Year celebration is with the new moon, January 29th. But the solar calendar with solstices and equinoxes and things like that is very precise. And so the calendar is actually a combination for both. So for astrology, we actually use the midpoint between winter solstice and spring equinox, which is February 3rd. So to me, there's this overlap of energy, if you will. But the wood snake is part of two cycles of time that makes it significant. One is we entered a new 20-year cycle last year, which is fire. We got period 9. And then this year, the snake is the first animal of the season of fire, which includes snake, horse, and goat. So what that means is there's a lot of fire around. And why is that significant? Well, because we have to look back to the ancients. They used metaphysics as tools to guide us to evolve spiritually, more than just to have good luck. It was about, bigger existential questions. Why are we here? What's the purpose of my life? So what does fire do? So let's just look at that from, and you don't have to believe this, just look in your own life. What does fire do? It illuminates. Well, what it's illuminating right now is a lot of what's wrong in this world. How we are over-consuming, perhaps how we manage money on the stock markets. Everybody likes when they go up, but they don't, banking. And we're seeing a lot of unrest, which is reflecting that in real estate, of course, and things like that, because emotions affect people. Now, it would be easy to say fire, everybody likes the sun, right? We feel good in the summer. So in a way, people will warm up, but there's another part, fire burns too. And so there's actually this dual nature happening. So I want to encourage people to maybe do some contemplation on some of the bigger questions that come up for them in areas of their life where they're unsatisfied. Because we can always create luck just by understanding time. But there really is a bigger influence happening right now that is for many, what am I doing with my life and why am I here?
Mm-hmm. And you're right. I think we've really started to see that even starting last year and the last few years of people asking these bigger questions about, we were sharing this last year when you did the interview. I was just rewatching it. Even we are noticing this when people are buying homes and stuff. It's a lot more purposeful now, right? It's less how many bedrooms do I need and how much square footage. It's really, what do I want my lifestyle to be? Do I want to have my parents be able to live with me in a few years? Do I want to grow my family? Like, it's really a lot more purposeful, I would say.
Yeah, deeper, right? Because I think we have, for the longest time, pretty much since World War II, thought more is better. So, we've been giving kids their own bedrooms, their own bathrooms, their own closets, and all that stuff. And COVID showed a big flaw in kids' psyche, particularly. They weren't coped to deal with it. So it's not just the stuff that makes you happy. It's a combination of different things. And so, yeah, right. People are looking deeper at what does a good home feel like,
And what would you say, what would be your biggest tips for someone wanting to capitalize on this energy of fire and transformation? Like, what are the things that they could do to prepare themselves for this and really take advantage of this energy coming in?
Yeah. Okay. So I love two words that have the same letters that give you the choice: react or create. And so the option here is you really have to decide what kind of life you want and stop just blindly reacting to what's ever happening in the cosmos. Because our thoughts actually are create the energy that happens next. Like there is a connect, and if you're not sure about that, just be really angry and hold a baby. The baby's going to cry, like, because you see, actually, the heart of metaphysics is all energy is connected: time, people, space. And so the fire is, I think it might feel uncomfortable for a lot of people. Don't react. Look at it. What part of my life do I, am I happy with? And maybe start taking away the things that don't make you happy.
Mm. And is there, I know I had read one of your recent posts about, preparing for the new year and how you ring in the new year really sets you up for how the new year will be. In terms of setting these intentions, obviously it's good to do throughout the year, but is there a particularly powerful time to do that? Like, should it be something that we're doing before we ring in the new year, or right on the new year, or a few days after? What would you say?
Well, actually, this is with Chinese New Year being on the 29th, the celebration, right? The Lunar New Year. The Chinese, millions of Chinese the world over are cleaning their houses and getting ready. So one thought is, and nuclear physics says you can't the same energy can't create, a new result. So they're getting rid of what's not fitting. And so the house cleaning is literal. But how about in your mind, deciding what you'll tolerate and what you won't tolerate, or what you do? And so really one of the simplest things is maybe be kinder. But a clutter clear in your house, like if it doesn't bring you joy, why is it in your house? Why is it in your life? And so, so the next week, at least some clutter clearing is encouraged, but it's really a metaphor for making room for new energy to come in. Also, the other thing that's really good to do in the next week is if unfinished business getting cleaned up so that it doesn't get carried into the new year. And unfinished business could be, postponing a doctor's appointment, things we all postpone dealing with. That's one for me. Sometimes the dentist is a big one. But is there somebody you need to apologize to? Or, or a conversation to have with mom or dad as to, those are good things to start now, because then you've taken a step towards cleaning that up, and then you're hoping, because the next year it's going to go even faster energetically than this year. If we thought last year was fast, fire's fast, right? And so, it's like the more ready we are to bring our intentions with us. And so, I've had intentions for many years, been doing this a long time, about money and that, and I still have those, but now more my intentions around emotions I want to feel. I want peace, I want kindness, I want respect. And I'll actually set up my feng shui in many ways to support that too. And guess what? I actually, funnily enough, make more money, but it's because I'm bringing a higher vibration to it.
And it's certainly, this idea of time speeding up. I wonder, with our age cohort, we always wonder, are we just getting older? Does it just perceive that time is speeding up? But it does feel like the urgency and the energy, it does seem a lot faster pace, I think, the last few years than before, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you think sometimes, am I losing it? But it's like the month goes by and it's like, wow, where did December go? Where did November go? And so that's encouraging us to be in the present moment, into a mindful practice, because otherwise we're manifesting from the past to the future.
So basically, from now between now and the new year is catch up on all the stuff you've been wanting to do that you've been putting off, clear it out so that you start the new year off with a clean slate and you're ready to go and take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, and then get ready to celebrate with people you love.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And you already mentioned some of the big challenges, right? The idea of emotion, fire and triggering people and emotions. Are there any other big challenges that you foresee for this year? Just kind of generally for all people, or specific, signs, and how can people watch and prepare for those better?
Well, I think the first thing is, I think there will be an increased year of reactivity. I think the first part of the year, we're already seeing it, the first part of the year, there's a lot I don't know if it's false hope, but there's, for some, Trump has brought hope. right? Like, and for some, not so much. But,
No.
and I would say, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think it's really important here to be a little bit more of a critical observer before we react, and to also understand this too shall pass, whatever it is, right? And to stay the course, because if the second you start understanding all energy is connected and our energy influences this, what energy do you want the world to be? And this is what I think is the opportunity, because what will be illuminated with the fire is where we're not congruent with our values. Because you can't say, oh, I want peace, and you're a jerk.
Yeah.
That yells at people in traffic. And that's the other thing I'm noticing is a lot of peace people. I have a client who just bought a beautiful house in upstate New York, and he's never owned a house. So he's raking leaves and going crazy. And he's letting leaves take away his peace.
Mm.
And this house was supposed to be peaceful in the country, right? So it's not the house's fault. What we're actually seeing is his expectations, or we're probably misaligned. But the other is, if leaves take away your peace, you have a problem. Where is that? Do some digging, right? And then take some responsibility for it. The snake year. So who will particularly feel that is the pig, because it clashes the snake. But that doesn't mean it's a problem. It just means that you're going to really feel things need to change, right? And then we have the year, the month, the day, and the hour in our charts. Where it actually is would say, if it's like, for instance, you have a pig in the month, it's not just enough to say in the year, but if you have a pig in the month, you might want to quit your job. But should you? No, but it's illuminating that issue. If you have pig on the day, it might be your marriage is under the microscope. So you see, so that each of the animals, we could say, oh, the monkey is the best friend to the snake, but it's not that cut and dried.
Well, and that's what I found fascinating, taking a few of your courses. And then when I finally did a personal reading with you, is just noticing how nuanced things are to you personally, and how spot on some things were. I found it fascinating of, some of the challenges I was having, or the personality change, or things that I thought I should focus on. It was actually in my chart, and just seeing how personal it is for every single person is basically.
Yeah.
Is
Well, and the
fascinating
energy is kind of already here a bit, like it kind of got triggered in December, if we would say. And so already in January, a friend of mine, a client who has 2 pigs in her chart, is leaving her marriage.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's reactive, right? And maybe and now she's slowing down a bit, but that's not unusual. So the snake itself, if we just look at it separately, it's wood and fire. It's wood snake, right? And so there's fire, but also inside the snake is some earth and metal. So each of those elements now is kind of like somebody with that energy has walked into our lives. So some big personalities in your room is going to change your life. How we react to that now is individual. There's a big energy coming in. Looks are deceiving. It looks good. I'm not sure it is that good. I think, the change, I would say to people, be cautious with money and things like that for a little bit. I don't think the stock market is for sure turned around, but I think we're in the process of turning things around. But what needs to happen is we have to change our values in that process to really create a positive change. Otherwise, same old, same energies will come back. I'm sure people have noticed that issues are like patterns. And then why is that? It's because they're there for us to look at.
Well, and you've always said, right, the function, it's like 30% your own constitution, 30% the energy, 30%. What was the last?
Well, it's
30%?
heaven, earth, and man. So
Yes,
33% is what you were born with in time. 33% is your feng shui, which you can manipulate, right? And 33% is what you do. A lot of people self-sabotage.
And with that said, looking ahead at this year, I know in past years it was really fascinating. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, I remember doing your forecast and you had said something about around August time and that summer things would shift financially. And interestingly enough, that was right when the market shifted in terms of real estate, not for the positive, it was where, and it was interesting to see that it manifests that way. I'm curious, do you have any idea of this year, if there's any auspicious times or some unlucky times for the real estate market, the financial market? Are there any big trends that you are expecting?
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things. One is, I think from now till August, it's unstable. Okay. Okay. So that's one thing. So we'll know if things sort of stay stable till August, then I would say after August, there's more of a stability happening. But what's happening is people in the job market, the rich are kind of getting richer.
Mm,
And the poor are getting poorer. So the
yeah.
middle class is disappearing. And here in Vancouver, particularly, that's an issue in the real estate market. And the problem is the houses that we're building for the lower end housing, a lot of them don't have good feng shui. They're too, and so people have to also take into regard, it's not just the markets. What's the opportunity? We have to learn to be smarter, more valuable people. So self-worth is kind of a big issue that's on the table because if people have self-worth, they'll level up, they might go take a course, they'll take a risk in getting more educated. But a lot of the younger people are learning that a lot of them have been very privileged till now.
Mhm.
And so the leveling up, you mean what? I have to work harder because the work ethic has changed. And unfortunately, I think that that's what's going to be on the table a bit in the economy is people who work hard and have a good work ethic and that type of thing, I think they will do fine. People who are feeling the world is not fair will get more evidence of that. I
Mhm.
think there'll be a lot of deals later this year, sort of thing, as people, I think the job market is a bit insecure. So some people, I tell them in their yearly readings, this is your year where you need to be likable,
Mm.
right? Be likable so that you're not disposable, right? And I'm also I work with a lot of leaders in the corporate world as well. And my job to the CEOs and that is to help them create better culture. Because that's actually one of the things I think, particularly since the Me Too movement and COVID, that corporate culture, we don't know how to create community anymore. We don't go to
Mhm.
church. We're not, and I'm not saying go to church, but I think we need to find now a new way to create community. And the fact that you do podcasts like this, you're creating a community with your clients, right? But it's a community of holism, right? Which I think is beautiful,
Yeah,
and so
and
we
even
need more of
connecting.
that.
Yeah, like I find connecting one-on-one for people, it just, and especially as you say, that inequality, we've seen that gap in inequality has just gotten bigger, bigger, especially since COVID. And then also the gap in skill set and the ability to connect with people. Like I find, especially younger people, we have clients who, don't answer phone calls, but then they'll
Oh,
text you
yeah.
right after. And, and I've heard that from younger and younger generations. It's just yeah, that ability to connect and the desire to connect. It hasn't been as developed in earlier generations now because they've been more and more isolated, right? And it's
Yeah.
a real challenge, I think, especially in the workplace and even in the business world. I find it, I was just chatting with our team the other day. Back in the day, we used to present offers in person. Like if you're in a multiple offer situation, I would always be there presenting my buyer's offer in person to the sellers and the seller's agent. And every time I did that, our chances of getting that offer accepted was 95%. Now everything is email, online. You're almost not even meeting with your own clients in person. And so much gets lost, I think, in
Oh, that's
communication.
too bad. I didn't know that,
Yeah.
which makes, oh, yeah. Um, yeah, we have lost connection with
Yeah.
people and ourselves too,
Yeah.
even, right? But having said that, AI and social media and all that isn't going to go away. So actually, businesses need social media in order to thrive. But we have to now learn as humans, how can we still have connection and community and those types of things? And myself included, I'm going to have some in-person things with my local students, which I haven't done in years. I've been
Yeah.
doing it all on Zoom, right?
I'm
So,
ready to come in person. I'm not a big Zoom person, to be honest. Like, I like it for things like this because it's easier, right? And you could fit in more things. But I think you can get so much more, connection with people when you're one-on-one, and there's just so much more context and more energy that's created too when people are together, right? Rather than one of the
mhm.
things too, I noticed, not to go off on a tangent, but my husband and I, when COVID hit, we started doing yoga online instead of doing it in a studio, right? And we were doing it and then we kind of lost interest and now we've been going back in studio just as of October, and it's such a different feeling being in
Yes,
person and not
yes,
staring at
yes,
your
yes,
screen.
yes.
Even sometimes the classes are a little too full, it almost feels uncomfortable, but the way you feel at the end is totally different than
Well,
when
and
you're doing it
there's
at home.
yeah, you're right. There's an alchemy that occurs there. Now, so we have a responsibility now, I think, as people that use social media and online interfaces and that, to use them responsibly, and connectively. I went to TEDx on the weekend for the first time in a Surrey TEDx with 1,000 people in an auditorium. And I was like, oh, I want to do more of this because I was so inspired. And just being in a group of people that were consciously supporting these speakers, it was amazing. And I was like, okay, thank you for the reminder. And
yeah. And I think there's a bit of science behind it. I meditate, and they say when you meditate, like they've studied this, when you meditate on your own, like your brainwaves change. But when you're with other people, you actually affect each other's brainwaves, right? Like you get a much deeper coherence effect when you have
and lots of spiritual teachings. When two or more are gathered with the same purpose, there's an alchemy that occurs. Absolutely. Yeah.
And you hear that in Christianity, you hear it in a lot of these Eastern traditions too. So I would love to see more in-person stuff. I do find it, to me, I would way rather meet someone in person than online.
So let's create some meetups.
Yeah. Let's do it. I'm in.
You and I can do that, right? Because we're in the same city. Yeah.
It is interesting though. I know, I think 2 years ago, we did a workshop for some of our clients on creating generational wealth, and, had a financial planner. And we did it in person because of my love of in person, but we had more requests to do it online than we had people wanting to come in person. So I think it's an adjustment bringing people back.
I think it depends on the topic.
That's true too.
Right? Because that's a topic that hits a lot of nerves.
Yeah, that's true. So we were talking about this year, whether we do it online or in person, if we do it again. So I guess you just got to test it and see, right? So, two big questions I have too, in terms of a lot of comments we had about us doing this, was people asking about, how do you improve relationships? And another one is, how do you improve your prosperity and wealth? Are there different areas of the home that people should focus on to help improve, either their relationships or their finances? What would your recommendations be for those?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So in Feng Shui, I differentiate classical Feng Shui that uses a compass and formulas from New Age Feng Shui, or even trinket Feng Shui, which is like, oh, put lucky frogs here, or those types of things, right? Because real Feng Shui is kind of like gardening. Does the soil have good soil? What's the direction? How much light? Is it out of wind? So, that's part of it. But then so energy can be seen two ways, one literally and one by effect. Right. And so how's your life? Good energy is you're getting opportunities, you wake up more refreshed, there's an improvement in things happening. And so with formula, there's a method each year called Flying Stars. And it's been around a good 1,000 years. It's the most practiced classical Feng Shui out of China. And it's fast and easy. So this method sort of says there's luckier areas in the house. The East is very good for connecting, and there's a saying I like called noble people. And what's a noble people sector? A noble people sector is somebody who it's an energy that actually helps you do better. So the East has that. Southeast is also really good energy. Okay, so the East and the Southeast are great. I actually even think the South is not bad, but the South is more for communication. And I would say if there's only one area this year to be a little bit careful about, which would be the Northeast sector. So, and I just want to put a caveat here that in Feng Shui, we use magnetic energy, and in maps, they put true north at the top, and I use magnetic. And in Vancouver, that's 17 degrees different to the east. So set your phone to magnetic on the compass if you guys are, looking at directions, right? So the Northeast sector, if you have to use it, add some metal. That's the remedy, if you will. Remedy. It's not like it cures it, but everything in Feng Shui is yin and yang and 5-element theory. So earth, metal, water, wood, and fire, there's elements that feed it, elements that support it, and elements that kind of bring it into harmony. And so the Northeast sector needs some metal. And to enhance your luck, I would say also burning a candle or something in the south, like more lighting in the south is a good idea. And I also, but I like I can't really, because it could take me an hour and a half to sort of go through it all if I wanted. But I would say that those are my top three energies. And so I'm sitting in the east and southeast and sleeping I have 2 bedrooms, so I do switch around year to year if I need to. And
That's
actually,
what I
even
was
where I
going to say.
sit
I'm
on the
like, well, I think my
couch,
bedroom's northeast. What do you like? I have to go to bed, right?
put some metal under the bed, extra metal. And so the easiest metal remedy is metal weights.
Okay.
Just add some extra metal weights to the room and keep it tidy and clean. So here's the thing too, negative energy only gets activated if it's a mess or disturbed. So that doesn't mean neglect it. It means keep it tidy and clean and not cluttered. Clutter, the reason it's so associated with feng shui is it brings out the negative aspects of energy.
Oh, okay. So regardless of what sector it's in, clutter is never good. And
Never
clearing
good.
things out and being like clean and modern is good in every sector.
Yes, yes, yes. And when we hang on to stuff that we don't like or use, that's also a belief pattern, usually a lack belief pattern happening too, right? And so trust is important here, having
Be able to let
faith
go.
and maybe less stuff.
And is there any specific sectors that are good for you said connecting, I guess, and
Oh, for
communication with east and
relationships, I
south?
would use
What'd you
the
say?
west sector.
On the west. Okay.
Yeah, for the west sector. And actually, you know what? North also has really good energy too. For relationships, I would do north and west. Now, what does that mean? So that just says to me, if you're eating in those sectors or doing things, you're going to find this year is probably easier, more flow. And then northwest, the energy of the northwest is such that it's curious. They call the energy there the argument star, but it's only an argument if you don't know how to negotiate.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Right? It's actually so people who, right? It's just people who my way or the highway. Well, then if you're eating dinner in the Northwest, you might find if some lively conversations coming up. But I think all the energies are not to be feared. When they get triggered and if something comes up, it's actually so for you in the bedroom, if you have this energy, it's a transformation sign. But not everybody wants transformation.
Right.
Right. So
and I think that's the value of what you said is just being aware, right? And then you can and I remember you tell me one year too is I think sometimes people are scared to get readings of their home or of their life because you're like, what if something bad's going to but you said too, if you have the awareness that you could have issues in this area of your life, you just better prepare for it, right? And then you maybe aren't so reactive and you aren't
and totally. And we are born as souls. They call it karma, but karma is just ways to raise your vibration. They're habitual patterns of thinking. So we have an opportunity, particularly in these cycles of fire, to change that. But in order to see, oh, I believe that life is hard, life will be hard until you learn to see you could choose differently. And so a lot of these actually help you with that, right? And then it might be like the friend of mine who's leaving her partner, she's unhappy. Right. And so, but the process of an unhappy marriage to getting happy isn't going to be overnight.
Yeah.
But she's
and it might
taking
not be solved by
steps.
leaving. Yeah. Because you still.
No, because she's thinking he makes her unhappy.
Yeah.
She may well find, oh, I have this belief pattern, right? And so what I love about metaphysics is actually I can come in your house and I never go in there. There are stories of guys who come in there and go, oh, this is terrible, blah, 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 blah. There are always things we could do. So the first step is analysis. It's like you get a blood test. Right? What's going on? You may not like exactly the remedy, but then that's up to you because it'll keep on going on. You can't just, and here's the trick too, you can't get another house until you deal with it. Well, you can, but the energy of the next house will be the same.
I remember you telling the story of this guy's house that you went to and he was single and couldn't manifest a good relationship. And you looked around his house and he had all photos of single women with their back towards him, like just different paintings.
Yes.
And it makes me think, I think we see it with real estate too, that people are drawn to what they're drawn, like different people are drawn to different places because of, their beliefs and their energy. So you can move your place, but if you end up getting the same energy, then.
Yeah, and just like, I think a lot of people who live on the downtown east side, which has a lot of poverty and different things, they would hate to live on the west side or British properties because their vibrations don't even match, right? So we have to help everybody get to the next level. And so that's a really cool thing. There's always things we can do if you're prepared to do personal growth or to take action. And as we know too, successful people in the world the people like myself have been advisors to probabilities for thousands of years to people who want to do a good job, who want to do different. But a lot of people think, oh, something out there should change, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah, that's usually how it is, right? But until you
And
change
you help them
yourself,
with that, getting a new house. But
we help
I'm
them get
sure
a new
you've seen
house. Yeah.
too, you have to help really manage expectations, too.
Totally. And yeah, I think our thing is managing expectations and really helping people get clear on what they really want. Because I find sometimes people say they want something, but really our job is to help them figure out, what do you really want? What do you really need? And what are you willing to do to get what you want? Because usually what they really want, if it's a step up, it's a little bit out of reach. Like something has to change in order for them to get it. I've never seen someone make a move into the market or up the market and it was just comfortable and easy. It's always,
Oh,
you have to
yes.
be willing. And the more energy people put into it and the more analysis they do on themselves, the better their outcomes are.
Yeah, because otherwise we carry the past with us. And
Yeah.
the Chinese actually know that 7 generations of the past live within us.
Oh, wow.
So the burial feng shui is a big part too, because it's like if you're properly buried, you can help the descendants sort of have better luck. And it's a big thing. Even here in Vancouver, people will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for buying the right plot, type thing. And yeah, but it's like and there's a lot of research out there too that says the belief patterns of our parents and ancestors are actually in us. So if they went through a war, it's pretty hard to feel safe as a child because it's even inside of you that the world is like that. And so these are things we're all going through in the current times we're in. Just in the past, it wasn't as illuminated.
And, in terms of working on this, if someone is kind of lit up by this conversation or inspired to make a change, what would you recommend as ways that they could learn more about themselves? Like, would it be getting a consultation with you or coming to a workshop? Like, what's the best way for them to get introduced to this and start?
Well, I think first you should sign up for my newsletter, right? Because I do a monthly, sometimes bi-monthly, but
and
monthly
where can they
newsletter.
sign up for your newsletter? That's on your
On
website.
marlynaconsulting.com. So my website's my name and marlynaconsulting.com, and there's a box just up on the top right. So that's first. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. And Instagram, I do lots. My posting's mostly inspirational. I just really am. There's a lot of messaging out there to be fearful, and fear is a block to me. But it doesn't mean I'm a blissinity either. But it's kind of like, how can we, because you have to recognize, oh, I've got this pattern of thinking. How can I shift it? I have a membership group that's $28 a month, Living with Purpose. So that's a kind of the lower end of contacting me. I do readings and I do feng shui consultations, and I actually teach Chinese astrology, and I also teach feng shui. I've been doing this a long time. And the cool thing these days is I'm working with a lot of acupuncturists and TCM doctors globally who haven't had access to the real teachings. And this was originally part of Chinese medicine. And I actually knew, it's so funny, 20 years ago when I was taking a class in China, and I just had this kind of download that as a white person, so this is like weird for me, right? Oh, I'm going to be helping teach people about this. And it was like, really? And yeah, I am, because they don't have access to the knowledge. And I'm a bit of a nerd with this, right? I've read thousands of books, and I continue to this day to study just because I'm curious. I can't read Chinese. So I have to study, more, if you will, to get access to the material from people who have. But I find it exciting because I'm seeing a shift in how this is being used. People are now using metaphysics kind of as a global thing of how to help people raise vibration. And really, isn't it at the end of the day as simple as that? Like, even though we could say, oh, the snake is a big year, right? But if you focus on raising your vibration, your life will change, which means stop doing what doesn't raise your vibration.
Well, and you raise the vibration of everyone and everything around you too, I think, right?
It's that simple. Be
you can't
happy.
have world peace till you have inner peace, right?
Yeah. So what's not making you happy might come to the surface. So deal with
So
it in
sign
a
up for the
positive way.
website, see if
Yep.
about your workshops or join your monthly newsletter. They could also get a personal reading with you. And we're actually giving away a reading with you. And this is just to explain to people too, it's a birth chart reading, right? It's not
Yeah,
a
yeah.
it's not a
Well, we
house
could,
reading.
yeah.
It's more
So they're
about
going to talk to me
understanding.
for an hour. So actually,
Yeah.
if they have house questions, they can bring it up.
Okay.
But yeah, so your year, month, and day and hour tell a story,
Right.
right? And the future, because all energy is connected, is large. I can see in a chart if you have mother or father issues or things like that, but also when to make money. If you had questions about money, what's my best strategy this month? How are my kids doing? Like that's all possible to see. And then to support you with actions, because that's really at the end of the day, right? Some actions. And yes, maybe I would say it will sit in this sector of your house. But the first thing is just awareness. There's a saying I like, awareness is curative, right? Like just, and what
Being
is
aware.
awareness? We're putting our eyes on something. And what are our eyes? Light. So to see how all this light is illuminating people and things, I think it's exciting.
I think it's
Uncomfortable,
very
but
exciting.
exciting.
So you could, yeah. So if you want to win that, you could just follow our Instagram and we have a little post on it. You just have to like it and comment, but you tag someone or you post why you'd like to win it. And we're going to do the draw on I think we close it on the 28th and we do the draw on the 29th. So right on New Year. And then we also have a few of your books, which you wrote here, the Feng Shui, Do You See What I See, which you genuinely gifted. And we're going to be giving 3 of these away as well.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
this is another way people could learn from you, no? Can people still
Totally.
buy this on like
It's a
Amazon?
PDF format now on
Oh, now it's
the
PDF. Okay.
website. Yeah.
Well, we
But
have the good hard
absolutely.
copy. So
Yeah. Thanks. I really appreciate that, Adina. And I think you and your team, I love the energy that you bring to the work you do. People,
oh, thank
your
you.
clients know how special you are.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. You know, I think we're lucky because we actually have like the most wonderful, loving client. Like we just have the most amazing clients. So we always feel energized to work with them. And it's just a blessing to have someone like you to share your wisdom with us and be part of this and help me
Yeah.
raise my vibration because
You're welcome. Thank you.
it's not
Ditto.
a, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Marlyna. Have a great
Okay.
day and
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. We'll be in
Bye.
touch. Okay. Bye-bye.